Chapter 35, Kitty.
Okay, where are we? What has happened? Uh, Never mind.
What?
Never mind. We're just in a different time, basically. Okay, stuff's happened. Never mind last chapter. Let's go.
I'm so glad you said that before I even had the opportunity to
Mm.
open with what I intended to open with, because I was going to open with, I have one big criticism for this chapter. And it's basically what you just said. So I believe I've commented in the past about how I've gone over Brandon Sanderson's outlining method, and I've downloaded his, I think it's his Skyward outline to try and utilize for my own writing. So I have an idea of how he categorizes his chapters and how he lists what he wants to accomplish in each chapter and how he orders them. And I've commented in the past about how some of his chapters feel so wonky, a little out of place. It messes a bit with the pacing, right?
Mm-hmm.
This chapter here feels like a prime example of it. I'm sorry, it does not come off the heels of that Zane Vin confrontation cleanly.
Yeah.
I wondered how it would feel if we put that chapter in before the last chapter. Like if this chapter was 34 and the last chapter was 35, how that would work. Or if this chapter were the second half of 34 and then the Vin Zane confrontation happened at the start of this chapter, and I'll have a better idea of whether or not that would work once we read the next chapter. I don't know what the next chapter is yet, so I can't speak from that knowledge because I don't have it, but it's just so strange. It felt really weird reading it, right?
Yeah, it was kind of like, oh, from the beginning, I was just like, okay, whoa, where? Oh, never mind. I suppose just cut to black and we're just going to maybe that's a suspense mechanism because it's like, yeah, yeah, she'll soon see. And then it's like, la 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 la, normal stuff. And you're like, oh no, we're not seeing anything. There's this sinister build up that
Mm-hmm.
we got from Zane, and then there's actually no payoff yet. And then just another reminder is that we are reading in the way, like, because of the way we're going chapter by chapter, maybe we are feeling the that this decision of where this chapter is going to, where this chapter has been placed. We're feeling that a little bit more because of our reading pace ourselves.
Yes, and it's Vin's POV, and there isn't one sentence to connect the last chapter to this one. There isn't a, I need to talk to Ellen about this at some point. I've been hiding it from him.
Nothing.
Thought.
Yeah.
Nothing.
That would have been better. That would have been better. I would have liked that. Just one line, a throwaway line as well, just to kind of place, because her mind, she was also feeling a certain way. She was feeling uncertain, actually, or at least challenged by Zane in the previous chapter. It was a big deal, the conversation that they had. So having some thought about it would have just at least made it feel less like it's another world.
And that lack of the connecting thread between the last chapter and this chapter is why I'm invoking Brandon Sanderson's outlining method, because the way he does it is he'll like create a bullet point list of things that he wants to accomplish in a chapter,
Hmm.
and he'll like move things from the list into the chapter, and it just feels like, okay, he put all of these bullet points in the chapter but didn't think about where the chapter itself would be
Hmm.
sandwiched in between.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. We don't need a resolution. Like I said, oh, it doesn't pay off. The last chapter doesn't pay off. We don't need the payoff completely. We just need it to be still in position.
Mm-hmm.
And you could have reinforced that with a couple lines or a thought, because we are in a Vin POV. So yeah, I'm with you on that. But the actual, the actual chapter, it's not like it's a nothing chapter. Stuff does happen, and we
Yep.
will get to it, I suppose.
Yes. I will say also, having had the week to ruminate, or
Hmm.
another week, I suppose, to ruminate on the last chapter, I did have, let's call it a prediction, but I think Vin is going to leave with Zane. Zane doesn't have any real idea of where he wants to go, so I think Vin and Zane are going to go to the Well of Ascension, or they are going to seek out the source of the thumping. One of the two, if those two are not the same.
Yeah, I
Or
think.
or
Mhm.
one will lead to the other. The question is, will Sazed join them? Go on.
Okay, so I'm gonna put that into the prediction log.
Please do.
Yeah, that is. Vin wants to. She wants an excuse to go. Not an excuse, but she has been wanting to go figure out the thumping. So if Zane is a method for that, and it also helps her run away from her insecurity about Elend, it seems like that could work. The pieces are all in the right place for that to occur. So
Yeah.
Vin leaves with Zane to find the well.
And the reason I mentioned Sazed and whether or not he's going to go with is because I've expressed the possibility that Vin is the announcer, not the
Mhm.
hero of ages. If Sazed goes with, that supports my theory that Sazed is the hero of ages. But if he doesn't, I could see a pathway towards Zane being the hero of ages.
Ooh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Damn, that would be quite a thing.
Yeah.
Because we have to bring Zane to sanity. We have to heal Zane, and he is severely damaged.
Yep. Very much so.
Mhm.
But who doesn't love a good redemption arc?
Yeah.
Shall we get into the chapter then?
Yes, let's do that.
Because of the set focus this
Mhm.
chapisode, I think we shall do today's intro as set.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to the No One Asked You podcast. This series, I am once again joined by my wonderful co-host, That Don Kitty.
Dorkus and I are both going into the story completely new, with almost no knowledge of the story or world.
Each segment, we intend to cover what happens in each new chapter and discuss our experience along the way.
Hold on to your butts, because this is Ascension Unleashed, a blind read-through, and today we'll be covering Chapter 35.
Chapter 35.
It was fun.
I have too much fun listening to you do these.
Good luck.
But I do so now. Let it be known that I, Quan, world bringer of Terrace, am a fraud.
Yeah, we know. We get it. This is not the big reveal it was the first time we read it, so yeah, okay.
Yeah. We went hard, I think, on the criticism about the placement of this chapter before, so I don't want to go too hard on the Quan criticism right now, but I'm not loving the epigraphs too
Yeah,
much right
yeah,
now.
they're not teaching us new stuff. I think that's what our frustration has been for the past few chapters. Also, yeah, we haven't had much actually discussion at all about his writings, about the rubbing, the charcoal thing, about Sazed. He's been busy helping Elend, I suppose. But yeah, I would like to get back to that at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Also, is there a fraud? Who's a fraud in this? The theme of
I told 3
fraudulentness.
lies already.
Yeah, exactly. So there's the lie. That I guess he's the fraud. Is Vin the fraud? Because she's trying to be all pretty gal. Everybody's a fraud. Everybody's trying to be something.
Set admits to lying
Mm-hmm.
in this chapter, so that's kind of how unless that in and of itself is the lie, and we're gonna have fun talking about what's the lie and what's not.
Yeah, I mean that could be the lie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe Vin is lying to herself about something. Ellen's honest. I don't think he's a fraud.
No. Well, theme of fraudulentness is afoot. Keep it in mind. I know that the lie thing makes it very, very much like very obvious, but I want to see if there's some other stuff. woven in.
Excellent. Let's keep an eye out.
Mhm.
It felt like she was going to a ball again. The beautiful maroon gown would have fit in perfectly at one of the parties she had attended during the months before the collapse. The dress was untraditional, but not unfashionable. The changes simply made the dress seem distinctive. The alterations left her freer to move, let her walk more gracefully, turn more naturally. That in turn made her feel even more beautiful. Standing before her mirror, Vin thought of what it might have been like to wear the dress to a real ball, to be herself, not Valette, the uncomfortable country noblewoman, not even Vin the Scaw thief, to be herself. So I love this melding of the fashion to something that is closer to who Vin is as a person, and this helps her in turn move closer the identities of Scaw Thief and Valette.
Yeah, they are coming together. She's not just one or the other, she's something more. She doesn't just have to have this label that then fixes her in a certain place. She has to become herself. And this like first section of the POV is about that. It's about her identity, who she is, and who she wants to be. So the fashion comes along with it. It's a nice visual cue.
Mm-hmm. To be herself, or at least as she could imagine herself. Confident because she accepted her place as a Mistborn. Confident because she accepted her place as the one who had struck down the Lord Ruler. Confident because she knew the king loved her.
Maybe I could be both.
Vin thought, running her hands down the sides of the dress, feeling the soft satin.
You look beautiful, child.
Tindwyl said. Vin turned, smiling hesitantly.
I don't have any jewelry. I gave the last of it to Ellen to help feed the refugees. It was the wrong color to go with this dress anyway. Many women use jewelry to try and hide their own plainness. You don't have that need.
So, right off the bat, as we complained about earlier, we won't belabor the point too much. There's too much calmness here to have come off the heels of the last chapter, and we have no sign of it having been an hour ago, a day ago, a week ago, and we know Sanderson has jumped weeks in very small time frames before. So at this point, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, the only cue we have for where this is before last chapter, or whenever it was in the when they were in, I was going to say Parliament, when they were in the assembly, and he said he will have dinner with Elend.
With
Yeah,
Elend.
Set will have dinner with Elend in a week or something. That's the only thing that places it. But that was long ago enough for us to feel like, sorry, whoa, okay, so we're just a week. We don't know where this is exactly. Like, we know, okay, it's a week ago that they were invited, but where does this sit in relation to the last chapter?
Right, because it's the juxtaposition between the adrenaline of having almost died and then suddenly, oh, I'm dressed for a ball.
That's whiplash. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my goodness, like I could accept her ignoring it, like having a thought to ignore it or something like that, because she has to be. I could imagine being frustrated with her, her inner monologue going, no, I must ignore this for Ellen, something like that. At least addressing it would have been good. But yeah, it very, very much seems just out of, okay, cool, we're here.
Yeah.
Like I said, a throwaway line would make us feel a lot better, I think, a lot more like this comes off something.
Agreed. The terrace woman stood with her usual posture, hands clasped before her, rings and earrings sparkling. None of her jewelry had gemstones. In fact, most of it was made from simple materials: iron, copper, pewter, ferrochemical metals.
You haven't been in to see Ellen lately,
Vin said, turning back to the mirror and using a few wooden barrettes to hold her hair back.
The king is quickly approaching the point where he no longer needs my instruction. He's that close, then, to being like the men from your biographies.
Tindwyl laughed.
Goodness no, child. He's quite far from that. But I said he would no longer need my instruction. He is learning that he can rely only so much upon the words of others, and has reached the point where he will have to learn more for himself. You would be surprised, child, how much about being a good leader simply comes from experience.
I thought that was a good line.
Yeah, he just needs to learn how to learn and then continue doing that.
Yeah. And
Mm.
it's not wrong. I mean, Elend has improved dramatically. And he's taken the lessons to heart. He seems to know the important points.
Yes, it seems like it's changed how he absorbs information, so the change is compounded.
Yeah,
He seems very different to me. He is.
Tyndall said, walking forward to lay a hand on Vin's shoulder.
He is becoming the man that he always knew he would have to be. He just didn't know the path. So I am hard on him. I think he would have found his way, even if I hadn't come. A man can only stumble for so long before he either falls or stands up straight.
Another good line.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he would have stumbled or fallen? Do you think he would have had the opportunity to stand up straight? Because clearly it's within him the ability to stand up straight, but I wonder if it would have just taken him a bit too long.
Yeah, I feel like he wouldn't have stood up in time. He would have fallen and stayed down. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think someone would have shoved him over. It's not so much that he would have stumbled,
Mm-hmm.
it's that he would have been shoved over, I think.
Yeah, and wouldn't have found the answer for. He knew he had to change and do something, but he didn't know exactly what. And I feel like he would not have had the time to figure that out if she wasn't there.
Mhm.
So I think what she means, well, what we can mostly take from this is that he had the right stuff under there, but I just don't, I agree with you. I don't think the circumstances would have actually worked out this way without
It
her.
maybe in a more peaceful time, he would have
Hmm.
had time to stand up straight.
Yeah. Maybe with a few less dire problems.
Yeah.
But all of them together, he needed the boost.
Yeah. Let him wet his teeth with a famine or one ornery kingdom nearby that's manageable or something like that. But 3 armies and trouble from within and the deepness coming back, which he only sort of kind of knows about. I think he needed someone there to be like, hey, get your shit together, quick.
That actually does make me go, you know what? He doesn't need to be he doesn't actually, okay, no. It's a little bit easier that he doesn't think about the deepness because he really, really has no capacity for that. I know I get frustrated because I'm like, Vin, you have to tell him. But
Well,
there's not much he could do about it.
I mean, if we're choosing to look at the deepness as a global warming allegory, it's like, I gotta feed myself. I have to
Yeah,
drive to work. Sorry.
exactly. Yeah, it's like, okay, cool. I know that's horrible and dire, but right now I've got other things. Maybe it would be preferable for him to actually have that thought. I would like him to have all the knowledge, I think, and
Hmm.
then say, you know what, Vin, you go and deal with that because I can't. It would be better than that than having him in ignorance, which he currently kind of is, and I
Yeah.
don't enjoy it.
Yeah. Vin looked at her mirror self, pretty in its maroon dressings.
This is what I have to become for him, and for yourself. This is where you were heading before you got distracted.
Vin turned.
Are you going to come with us tonight?
Tyndall shook her head.
That is not my place. Now go, meet your king. Right, so this line about this is what I have to become for him. Vin, I like that Tyndall gave her the other half of that because you becoming the best self that you can be is a good thing for your partner. Absolutely. But you don't do it solely for your partner. You have to value yourself as well.
Mm-hmm.
So Vin's framing there was off, and then Tyndall brought it back to no, okay, it's also for you. It's, remember that they can be the same. They can be at the same time, but not one or the other. They
Yeah.
can be together. Yeah. Vin just is always like, I need to have this label. I need to be this person. I need to do that for this person. It's like, no, no, no. Being yourself is is actually the healthiest thing for you to do. So find that.
Yeah. This time, Elend did not intend to enter his enemy's lair without a proper escort. 200 soldiers stood in the courtyard waiting to accompany him to Set's dinner, and Ham, fully armed, was playing personal bodyguard. Spook would act as Ellen's coachman. That only left Breeze, who understandably was a bit nervous about the idea of attending. You don't have to come, Ellen told the portly man as they assembled in the venture courtyard. I don't? Well, then I shall remain here. Enjoy the dinner. Ellen frowned. Ham clapped Ellen on the shoulder. You should know better than to give that one any wiggle room, Ellen. Well, I meant my words. We could really use a soother, but he doesn't have to come if he doesn't want to. Breeze looked relieved. Well, so, look, is it a power move to bring Breeze, or is it not a power move to bring Breeze? What do you think?
I can see it being a power move because it's like, look, I've got the guy that was with you. But then the way that Seth talks about Breeze later on makes that a little bit iffy, makes it less, it catches him off guard. So, yeah, no, I think also it's just, even if we ignore the power move thing, it's also a distraction having Breeze there. It's like there's this whole history that we don't need that right now.
Yeah, and it's clear that Breeze has not given us the whole situation or the truth of what happened. So I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say it's probably Breeze's best judgment to not go, and it's a decent sign of Ellen as king to be like, hey, you don't have to come. I think it works out for the best. There might be some flack for Breeze from the rest of the group for being like, you weren't that supportive, but Breeze is choosing not to like tell them all, but he's clearly made uncomfortable, so it's, I don't know, I just kind of hope Breeze and Ham stop bickering for a little bit.
I think it's entertaining, as long as it's bickering and not like proper
Good-natured.
sour. Yeah.
You don't feel even a bit guilty, do you? Ham asked. My dear Hammond, have you ever known me to express such a dreary and uninspired emotion? Besides, I have a feeling Set will be more amiable without me around. He's probably right, Ellen thought as his coach pulled up. Ellen, don't you think bringing 200 soldiers with us is, well, a little obvious? Set is the one who said we should be honest with our threats. Well, I'd say 200 men is on the conservative side of how well I trust the man. He'll still have us outnumbered 5-1.
But you'll have a Mistborn sitting a few seats from him,
a soft voice said from behind. Ellen turned, smiling at Finn. How can you possibly move so quietly in a dress like that?
I've been practicing,
she said, taking his arm. Thing is, she probably has, he thought, inhaling her perfume, imagining Vin creeping through the palace hallways in a massive ball gown. Well, we should get moving, Ham said. He gestured for Vin and Ellen to enter the carriage, and they left Breeze behind on the palace steps.
I don't think you need to be less obvious, Ham. Just from his comment there, I'm like, nah, I think it's fine. It's good to have your soldiers. But I guess Sanderson just wanted us to, wanted to cover that base, cover that thought process with that
sure,
comment.
And build that microcosm that he calls out fairly well, I think, later on in the chapter with the smaller army inside the bigger army, inside the city, sieged by the bigger army thing. It's not unclever. But again, maybe there's an element of Ellen's obliviousness here, but there's no sign of any stress or something amiss that I would have hoped for hanging off of the last chapter. But we've discussed that to death, so. After a year of passing Keep Hasting in the night, its windows darkened. It felt right to see them glowing again. You know, we never did get to attend a ball together. Vin turned from her contemplation of the approaching keep. Around her, the carriage bounced along to the sound of several hundred tromping feet, the evening just beginning to grow dark. We met up several times at the balls, but I never got the chance to pick you up in my carriage.
Is that really so important?
Ellen shrugged. It's all part of the experience. Or it was. There was a comfortable formality to it all. The gentleman arriving to accompany the lady, then everyone watching you enter and evaluating how you look together. I did it dozens of times with different women, but never with the one that would have made the experience special.
Just a note here. In my edition, it says, I did it dozens of times with dozens of women,
Oh my.
which sounds even worse.
A bit, yes. But we know he was never really interested in any of them. Vin smiled.
Do you think we'll ever have balls again?
I don't know, Vin. Even if we survive all of this, well, could you dance while so many people starved? He was probably thinking about the hundreds of refugees wearied from their travels, stripped of all food and equipment by Straff's soldiers, huddled together in the warehouse Elend had found for them.
You danced before. People starved then too.
But that was a different time. Elend hadn't been king then. In fact, as she thought about it, she had never actually seen him dance at those balls. He had studied and met with his friends, planning how he could make a better place out of the final empire.
Yeah, see, Vin, you don't have to. He wasn't completely a dandy that didn't care. But
Yeah.
I'm glad she noticed that.
Yes. But this also harkens back to, I think, book 1 fairly well, where she was really coming to love the balls and struggling with her identity and be like, how can I be a ska and go to balls?
Yeah.
This is woven nicely, I think.
Yeah. There has to be a way to have both. Maybe we could throw balls and ask the nobility who came to donate money to help feed the people.
Charity events. Vin just invented
Yes.
charity events.
Yes.
Elend smiled. We'd probably spend twice as much on the party as we got in donations.
And the money we spent would go to Scar merchants.
Interesting. You read that as like a clever thing. I read that in my mind as that's a problem.
Yeah, for me it was. It's Scar merchants. It's business for Scar merchants. That's a good thing, isn't it?
Interesting. Well, maybe it's because I am upset with the merchants right now, but I thought they had in their mind the refugees, the poor, the downtrodden. I guess I had presumed that the merchants can all more or less take care of themselves as far as money goes.
Yeah, true. And Vin could, so yeah, I think Vin is in this line here though, considering what comes afterwards. Vin is thinking about the Scar, not those merchants not being a problem, but Elend, on the other hand, knows the truth, like you've said.
That is interesting. And that really speaks to the role of an actor and a director. A decision would be made there. And that's interesting to me to think about.
I just love the language of it, of that something like that the language itself doesn't, the words can be said in a certain way and can change absolutely everything about what it means. That's what's cool to me. It's one of the best things about language. And worst.
There's an acting exercise, I think it's Meisner technique, where two actors are supposed to look at each other, and the only line they can say is, "You're smiling." And it's supposed to teach actors how to be able to listen and how to respond effectively. Personally, I never found it to be a uniquely strong exercise, but I guess other people do.
Sounds interesting to me.
No, you're smiling.
I'm not doing it back.
Oh, wow. Okay. Fine then. Ouch. Elend paused thoughtfully and Vin smirked to herself.
Odd that I would end up with the only frugal nobleman in the city.
What a pair they were. A Mistborn who felt guilty wasting coins to jump, and a nobleman who thought balls were too expensive. It was a wonder that Dockson could pry enough money out of them to keep the city running.
Dockson's the most frugal out of all of them, actually, but...
This is true.
But okay, I suppose what she's saying is no, they're even more frugal than Dockson. Dockson's at least trying to spend the money on things. They wouldn't spend it if it was up to them, they wouldn't spend anything. Okay.
He's an accounting wizard.
Mm-hmm.
We'll worry about that later, Elend said as the Hastings gates opened, revealing a field of soldiers at attention. You can bring your soldiers if you want, the display seemed to say. I've got more. In reality, they were entering a strange allegory of Luthadel itself. This is the line I was talking about. Elend's 200 were now surrounded by Set's 1,000, which in turn were surrounded by Luthadel's 20,000. The city was then surrounded by nearly 100,000 troops on the outside, layer upon layer of soldiers all tensely waiting for a fight. Thoughts of balls and parties fled her mind. Yeah, Great line.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't have time for that. Like, this is actually, I love that situating that pressure. It's a that you're right. This is a great line to put in after that ball discussion and whatever. It's great to make us resituate us. Hey, hey, look what we're busy doing now. Yeah, ooh, scary.
Set did not greet them at the door. That duty was performed by a soldier in a simple uniform. Your soldiers can remain here, the man said as they entered the main entryway. Once the large pillared room had been draped in fine rugs and wall hangings, but Elend had taken those to fund his government. Set obviously hadn't brought replacements, and that left the inside of the keep feeling austere, like a battlefront fortress rather than a mansion. Ominous.
Yeah, that kind of works. It is somewhat of a battlefront mansion. What's it? A fortress? Yeah, it works.
Elend turned, waving to Demio, and the captain ordered his men to wait indoors. Vin stood for a moment, consciously keeping herself from shooting a glare at Demio. If he was the Khandra, as her instincts warned, then it was dangerous to have him too close. Part of her itched to simply throw him in a dungeon. Yet a Khandra couldn't hurt humans, so he wasn't a direct threat. He was simply there to relay information. Plus, he'd already know their most sensitive secrets. There was little point in striking now, playing her hand so quickly. If she waited, saw where he went when he slipped out of the palace, then maybe she could find out which army or sect in the city he was reporting to, learn what information he had betrayed. Okay, I guess I'm going to belabor the point again, but if Vin is planning all of that out, it's like, did the time pressure of the last chapter not even happen? How do you think you have time to do this before Zane makes good on his threat?
Yes, this is where you could put that thought in, actually. Just even a throwaway after this, like, I don't have time for that anyway, because of thanks to Zane or whatever. Something. This is where you could throw away that line.
Yeah. The other thing I want to say here, though, is the benefit of Ellen's honesty is that it means he's also honest with his enemies. So, to a point, how worthwhile is a spy if you're spying on someone honest? Now, I say that, obviously, the spy gets the knowledge that there isn't any atium, although Elend has been honest about that.
Yeah.
So
what it does do is it confirms suspicions and things like that. It makes so an enemy will know whether he's lying or not. That's the thing. It's whether he's lying or not. So you could assume Elend is honest and actually continue as normal.
trust but verify.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So as an enemy, you would want to just verify things, and that's what the spy would do, which is what Zane did when he fought in the previous chapter. Even then he verified that Vin had no atium, because it was still it was still a bit of a doubt.
Right. True.
And one of the things that I haven't heard them say is, like, one of the things about knowing who the spy is you can also feed them the wrong information.
True.
That's what I like about knowing who a spy is you could figure out something to tell them that would backfire.
How gaslit will Demio feel if they start giving him wrong information and he's not the spy?
And he's like, okay. And he's just walking around like, and nothing actually. And that's how they find out, actually. But they're like, yeah, let's give him the wrong information and that will thwart all the plans. And then it's like, nobody finds out that wrong information at all because Demio is just running around doing soldier stuff.
So funny.
Fun mystery.
Anything else you want to say about that chapter? I think I cut you off at one point.
No, I got my bit in there.
And so she stayed her hand, waiting. The time to strike would come. Ham and Demio arranged their men, and then a smaller honor guard, including Ham, Spook, and Demio, gathered to stay with Vin and Elend. Elend nodded to Set's man, and the soldier led them down a side passageway. Oh, also noteworthy is Dogasaur is conspicuously missing. Not that I would expect him to come into the dinner.
Yeah.
But he wasn't there when she was trying on the dress and when they were meeting up to leave.
Yeah, I suppose he would have previously. You would have him in the room anyway, just as her dog. He wouldn't be talking with Tyndall there, so it's not like they needed him not to see her getting dressed and that sort of thing. So what does that mean? I feel like that's important. What is he doing?
I mean, if that's the connecting thread from the last chapter, that Dagosur has gone back to Zane on Zane's orders because the spy is no longer necessary because an attack is imminent.
Nah.
It doesn't work to fix all of the issues that I have with the placement of this chapter. I would argue it's too subtle
No,
to
it would be
be,
too subtle. I agree.
yeah,
It doesn't feel like that's not a little peg that locks us in place, I don't think. Mm. We're not
tinfoily hat right now, I feel. Anyway, continue.
we're not heading toward the lifts.
Vin thought. The Hasting Ballroom was at the very top of the keep's central tower. The times she had attended balls in the structure, she had been taken to the top of one of the 4 human-drawn lifts. Either Set didn't want to waste the manpower, or...
He picked the tallest keep in the city, the one with the fewest windows as well.
If Set pulled all the lifts to the top, it would be very difficult for an invading force to claim the keep. So that's, I think, a +1 to my he knows about the Kolos theory.
I think, well, everybody knows about the Kolos now.
Yes, I mean that he knew it was a day
He knew
away
it.
when he...
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he said, that's the one I'm going to take. Yeah.
When he decided on the gamble of the election
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, exactly. Because you said, like, he wanted to be in the city so he could survive the Kolos. So, like,
Yeah.
he doesn't have to be with his army when they try and deal with the Kolos.
Yeah. Fortunately, it didn't appear that they would have to go all the way up this evening. After they climbed 2 flights in a twisting stone stairwell, Vin having to pull her dress in at the sides to keep from brushing against the walls, their guide led them out into a large circular room with stained glass windows running around the entire perimeter, broken only by columns to support the ceiling. The single room was nearly as wide around as the tower itself.
A secondary ballroom, perhaps?
Vin wondered, taking in the beauty. The glass wasn't lit, though she suspected that there were clefts for limelight on the outside. Set didn't appear to care about such things. He had set up a large table in the very center of the room and sat at its head. He was already eating. "You're late," he called out to Elend, "so I started without you." Elend frowned. To this, Set laughed a full bellow, holding up a drumstick. "You seem more aghast at my breach of etiquette, boy, than you do about the fact that I brought an army to conquer you. But I suppose that's Luthadel. Sit down before I eat all this myself."
Yeah, nice and rude. Set, look at you, little power move there. I was eating before you. Like, he's happy to have he did that on purpose. As much as he goes, that's Luthadel, he did breach etiquette to get a reaction. So he's playing the Luthadel game. As much as he's acting like, oh, I'm above it all, whatever, you know exactly what you're doing.
Yes. Elend held out an arm for Vin, leading her to the table. Spook took up position near the stairwell, his tin-eyes ears listening for danger. Ham led their 10 men to a position from which they could watch the only entrances to the room, the stairwell and the door the serving staff used. Set ignored the soldiers. He had a group of his own bodyguards standing near the wall on the other side of the room, but he seemed unconcerned that Ham's troops had them slightly outnumbered. His son, the young man who had attended him at the assembly meeting, stood at his side waiting quietly.
One of the two has to be Mistborn, and I still think it is Set.
Elend pulled out a chair for her, then took a seat next to her, both of them directly across from Set. He barely paused in his eating as the servers brought Vin's and Elend's dishes.
We're getting a bit of a food description. Hold on to your butts.
With a purpose, too.
Drumsticks and vegetables and gravy. He wants this to be a messy meal. He wants to make Elend uncomfortable.
Elend didn't start on his food immediately. He sat watching Set, his expression thoughtful. "Damn, this is good food. You have no idea how hard it is to get proper meals while traveling." "Why did you want to speak with me? You know I won't be convinced to vote for you." Set shrugged. "I thought it might be interesting." "Is this about your daughter?" "Lord Ruler, no! Keep the silly thing if you want. The day she ran off was one of the few joys I've had this last month." "And if I threaten to harm her?" "You won't." "You're certain?" Set smiled through his thick beard, leaning toward Elend. I know you, Venture. I'd been watching you, studying you for months, and then you were kind enough to send one of your friends to spy on me. I learned a lot about you from him. Before we get any farther, first off, I like this dialogue. It's
Hmm.
nice. It's what you'd expect. It's good.
Yeah, very character driven. We're very set.
Yeah. Now, we know for a fact that Set is going to say in a few moments that he has already told 3 lies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have to go through all of the belief statements and be like, is this the lie?
Mm-hmm.
So you have no idea how hard it is to get proper meals when traveling.
Yeah,
Set's
okay.
a king?
It's not that hard. Proper meals when traveling. Mm-hmm.
For the king. For everyone
Mm-hmm.
else, I can see it being difficult, but him, I'm not so certain. So that's a possibility. I thought it might be interesting. Would it be, though? Would it be?
He's got
If you
some.
know,
Yeah, that's a lie.
if
Yeah,
yeah, if you know Ellen, would it really be that interesting?
yeah. It what to play with him. I guess it could be true that yeah, it's just so that he can mess around with him and be rude to him. That's the
Yeah,
interesting part. But yeah, that's I think that's a close enough lie in that that's not the only reason that you would
yeah.
do something. Yeah, that's definitely. I'm underline that one.
The day she ran off was one of the few joys I've had this last month. Very
That's
cold-hearted.
yeah. That is he trying to act like he doesn't care about her and he actually does? That could be a lie. Yeah.
I'm wondering, I feel like Breeze might have said something about Set not caring about his daughter. And we know that Njornden cares because he
Yeah.
approached Ellen about it, but Set never brought it up.
Mm.
And he very easily could have said something like, Ellen kidnapped my daughter, my only daughter, and probably could have played that for a few sympathy points. So I'm inclined to think that he's actually being honest here.
Mm-hmm.
I know you, Venture. I'd been watching you, studying you for months. I believe Set is narcissistic enough to think that he knows Ellen Venture.
Yeah, without specialized knowledge. It's just that he knew of Ellen Venture existing. Therefore, he knew Ellen Venture and knew
Yeah.
everything about it. It's not that he actually was properly, meticulously studying him.
Yes. Although I do believe that I'm sure he's got his spies in the city too.
Yeah, but that was not for Ellen. It's just for just the way he operates. It's not like a special arrangement just because Ellen is this particular foe. Just like no, he thrives on information.
Yeah. Okay, so let's read another chunk and then we'll break that one down. I know you, Venture. I'd been watching you, studying you for months, and then you were kind enough to send one of your friends to spy on me. I learned a lot about you from him. Ellen looked troubled. Honestly, you didn't think I'd recognize one of the survivors' own crew members? You Luthadel noblemen must assume that everyone outside the city is a damn fool. Yet you listened to Breeze. Is that why he told you I left the camp? Because I caught him with Alrion? Goodness, what do I care if the girl seduced him?
You think she seduced him?
Of course! Honestly, I only spent a few weeks with him, and even I know how useless he is with women. Okay. Honestly, you didn't think I'd recognize one of the survivors' own crew members? That seems.
That
I
seems
don't
like
see a
cope.
reason to lie. Yeah, I don't.
I
Wait,
don't know. I think
cope?
that could be cope. That like he's like you didn't think I would recognize. I would feel like he didn't recognize. He was just told by someone else. Okay, so that's a lie, in my opinion. Why would he recognize someone? Why would he
Gotcha.
recognize the survivors? No, he's got spies that will tell him that this is a crew member from the survivor. You wouldn't know anything about the survivor because he wasn't in Luthadel.
Well, I didn't necessarily think he meant him personally.
Mm.
I think someone saying, hey, that guy's part of the survivors crew would fall under the parameters of his statement as true.
Mm.
Uh, to your point, it's like, how well known were the crew members? I thought they were trying to operate in secrecy.
Yeah.
type situation.
And even so, I understand what you mean. Like he puts the best spin on his information, but he really is acting as if in that statement when he says I wouldn't recognize, it is himself.
Yeah.
In he could have said you didn't think the one of the survivors' own crew members wouldn't be recognized. He could have phrased it that way, but he puts himself in it because he's narcissistic enough to, and it's like, yeah, it's both true and false, I would say.
And then, honestly, I only spent a few weeks with him, and even I know how useless he is with women. I don't see a reason for him to lie about that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't think he would be useless with women. It's more that he's not trying with them. If he wanted to, he could totally manipulate them. He's just not interested.
Well, there's a difference between lying and being wrong.
Yeah, true.
Set could be wrong here,
Yeah.
but I think he's coming off as genuine about the
Mhm.
Alrion non-caringness here.
Mhm. If I'm not mistaken, though, so he has said. So I'm just looking. It's not about the lies now. Just the fact that he said, "Then you kindly sent me one of your friends to come spy on me." They didn't send Breeze. Breeze just went of his own accord, and they didn't know what Breeze was doing.
Is that how that went down? I don't
Yeah,
remember.
Breeze was out. I suppose he was out supposed to do something with the other kingdoms or the other
Spread
terri
rumors, I think.
yeah, territories. But when he came running from Set's army, they were like, "Oh my god, it's Breeze! Breeze is back!" They didn't know anything about it. It's not like he was sending messages to them or anything like that. So
Gotcha.
Breeze landed up there of his own accord. But
Hmm.
hey, let Set think that Breeze was sent out by Elend.
And I say I think he's being honest in this point, but it could be that he's hiding his power level and he's really seething beneath. But the laughter is what makes me think he's being genuine.
Yeah.
I think.
And he's just enjoying the fact that Elend is off guard or Elend doesn't know all the things. And he makes it worse for Elend or like enhances Elend's ignorance by doing the laughter and everything.
True. Elend was taking all this in stride. He watched Set with narrow, discerning eyes. So why did you chase him away? Set leaned back. I tried to turn him. He refused. I figured killing him would be preferable to letting him go back to you, but he's remarkably agile for a man of his size.
If Set really is Mistborn, there's no way Breeze got away without Set letting him.
So I tried to turn him. He
Mhm.
refused. I figured killing him would be preferable to letting him go back to you, but he's remarkably agile for a man his size. I tried to
Mhm.
turn him. Seems like a thing that Set might legitimately do.
Mhm. And you remember you said that Breeze is a little bit uncomfortable with what happened in Set's, you
Is
know.
Breeze a spy now?
No, no. But I think because I mean we've seen him helping. I believe Breeze is a good man. But the fact that remember you said that he could probably feel uncomfortable because he did something good. That's why he's
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable. He did something noticeably good or
Loyal.
embarrassingly good. And I tried to turn him, he refused. That's something that he would be embarrassed about. We
I
like
guess so, yeah.
like Ham could tease him about being such a good man. Like, oh, you're all bluster and you all talk, but you're actually too good a man to be turned. Because remember that was also why he's on Calcia's crew in the first place. Because inherently he is a good man. So that could be something. But yeah, this now what Vin has said here is that listen, if there's a Mistborn or whatever, he could never have escaped. So Vin is
Yeah.
thinking that that's a lie.
Well,
Or not
he's
that it's
not
a lie.
saying
Yeah.
it's a secret that he's
Mhm.
hiding.
Yeah.
It takes a rather extraordinary man to earn the loyalty of a weasel like Breeze. So you think I won't harm your daughter? I know you won't. You're honest. I happen to like that about you. Unfortunately, honesty is very easy to exploit. For instance, I knew that you'd admit Breeze was soothing that crowd. Honest men weren't meant to be kings, lad. It's a damn shame, but it's true. That's why I have to take the throne from you. Okay, I know you won't. Do you think that's the lie?
No, I don't think that's a lie. I think it's quite obvious that Elend would not
I'm
harm
inclined to agree.
Orion. It's like anybody we ourselves have said Elend is honest. And that,
Yeah.
like you said, it was a kind of like a make spies useless, kind of, although you do need verification. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's details. But in terms of morality, I think it is easy to say, yeah, Ellen could never harm Alrion.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't make it like you can't bluff that way, Ellen. Sorry.
You're honest. I happen to like that about you. I see no reason for this to be a lie.
Yeah, that's it. Like you want an honest opponent because then you can easily
Yes.
exploit him. Like he explains. Yeah.
Honest men weren't meant to be kings, lad. I see no reason that this couldn't be a belief statement for him.
Mm-hmm.
Elend was silent for a moment. Finally, he looked to Vin. She took his plate, sniffing it with an Alamancer's senses. Thinking I'd poison you? No, Elend said as Vin set the plate down. She wasn't as good as some, but she'd learned the obvious sense. You wouldn't use poison. That isn't your way. You seem to be a rather honest man yourself. I'm just blunt. There's a difference. That's honest, I think.
Yeah, I think I loved that line. I was like, "Yep, there is a difference. It's weird."
I haven't heard you tell a lie yet. That's because you don't know me well enough to discern the lies, Set said. He held up several grease-stained fingers. I've already told you 3 lies tonight, lad. Good luck guessing which ones they were.
We've been trying.
Been trying. I think for me, it's the line about food.
Mm-hmm.
You have no idea how hard it is to get proper meals when traveling.
I know that one for me was the survivor's own crew, recognizing the survivor's crew members, but that wasn't one for you. Why are we assuming that there are 3 lies? That could be a lie itself.
Well, no. The
Yeah.
third lie is that I told you 3 lies. I think there's only one more. I think it was I thought it might be interesting.
Yes, that was one. Yes.
So those are my 2.5 lies.
Mm-hmm. Mine is he's just trying to throw Elend off, so it doesn't even matter what number he said. He could have said 5. He could have said 2. Whatever. He's just trying to throw Elend off. And yeah, it's basically don't believe anything he says without verification.
Well said.
Mm.
That's because you don't know me well enough to discern the lies. I've already told you 3 lies tonight, lad. Good luck guessing which ones they were. Elend paused, studying Set. You're playing with me. Of course I am. Don't you see, boy? This is why you shouldn't be king. Leave the job to the men who understand their own corruption. Don't let it destroy you.
I like that line so much. Leave it to
It's a good
men who
line.
understand their own corruption. Like it actually makes Set a lot more textured as a character. Like he understands his own corruption. I don't know, he's just a better villain to me having said that line. It's like, no, I
I
understand my
agree.
corruption. He has self-awareness. He's not just mustache twirling, you know?
It really grounds him in a way that Straff just isn't. This guy
Mm.
is also over the top in a very different way,
Mhm.
but he is more grounded.
Which is also why I like the way you play him. Him
Thank
being
you.
over the top. Yeah. It works. It really does work with our conception of him. And you know what? He's actually enjoyable. He's I enjoy hating him, actually. He's a great character.
I mean, even in his dismissiveness of Alrion, which
Mm.
contrasts with Straff's dismissiveness of Elend, to
Mm.
say the least, Set is just better.
Mhm.
Written, more well-rounded, more
Yeah.
real.
Mhm.
Why do you care? Because I'd rather not kill you. Then don't. That isn't how all this works, lad. If there is an opportunity to stabilize your power, or to get more power, you damn well better take it, and I will. The table fell silent again. Set eyed Vin. No comments from the Mistborn?
You swear a lot. You're not supposed to do that in front of ladies.
So that right there, I thought, okay, so she's gonna try and play demure
Mm-hmm.
again, like she did with Straff, which somehow I get the sense wouldn't work as well with Set.
Wouldn't work as well, but it's still, I think it's a good approach to have. You don't need to be. He knows her strength. It feels like with Straff, he would over, he would underestimate her. Whereas I feel like this guy's a little bit more wily. He wouldn't underestimate her. He himself is not. He uses that mechanism of being underestimated because he's a cripple. All of that. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, like you said, I don't think it would work as well against him because he doesn't make those assumptions of people. But
Yeah.
it's just something. It's just a way to be. It's better than being as honest as Ellen.
Yeah. So Straff is just blunt force. He is
Mhm.
stronger than you, so he dominates you. And beyond that, he doesn't seem as interested in the playing politics. But Set, who has to play politics, is therefore much smarter and better
Mhm.
at reading people.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's the funniest thing about Luthadel, lass. They're all so concerned about doing what is proper when people can see them, but at the same time, they find nothing wrong with going and raping a couple scar women when the party is through. At least I swear to your face.
Yo, that was a
Ellen's.
slap in the face.
Yeah, that took a decidedly evil turn.
But you're like,
Not
it's the
not
truth.
Set's evil. I just mean like,
Mm.
oh, we're going there.
We're going there. It's like, yeah, that is the truth of it, and he uses that. So that's him countering Vin's thing of being demure and whatever. Demure, not demure. He is countering it by being even worse. It's like, oh, I swore. Well, let me mention rape. Like you want to talk about whether I should be proper in front of a lady. Let me talk about the worst thing that we can talk about. So
Mm-hmm.
he's countering her ladiness by further going into that deep dark place.
Yep. Ellen still hadn't touched his food. What will happen if you win the vote for the throne? Honest answer? Always. First thing, I'll have you assassinated. Can't have old kings sticking around. And if I step down, withdraw from the vote? Step down, vote for me, and then leave town and I'll let you live. Do you think that's true?
I don't think that's true.
I agree.
You're still an old king, and he'll not let you stick around.
Yeah. I wouldn't let him stick around if I were
Hmm.
Set, so
Yeah.
I would not expect Set to.
And I don't expect Set to, as much as he's like, yeah, I don't want to kill you, I think he's absolutely fine killing Erland.
Agreed. And the assembly? Dissolved. Their reliability. Anytime you give a committee power, you only end up with confusion. The assembly gives the people power. That's what a government should provide. Surprisingly, Set didn't laugh at that comment. Instead, he leaned in again, setting one arm on the table, discarding a half-eaten drumstick. That's the thing, boy. Letting the people rule themselves is fine when everything is bright and happy, but what about when you have two armies facing you? What about when there's a band of insane Kolos destroying villages on your frontier? Those aren't the times when you can afford to have an assembly around to depose you. The price is too high. When you can't have both freedom and safety, boy, which do you choose?
Man, he's so smart.
And that's what this whole book is about.
Yeah. I love it. I love his perception, his no, his perception of the way things are. For the themes, like you've said, of this book. It's like that's exactly it. It's something that it's exactly what Ellen is contending with and trying to figure out, going from
Yeah.
theory to practice. What is best for people?
Yeah, of course, it's all well and good to say it from Set's perspective when he's the one that stands to gain the power from it.
Yep, of course.
Elend was silent. I make my own choices, and I leave the others to make their own as well. Set smiled as if he'd expected such a reply. He started in on another drumstick. Let's say I leave, and let's say you do get the throne, protect the city, and dissolve the assembly. What then? What of the people? Why do you care? You need ask? I thought you understood me.
Good line, Ellen. It was a good line. I like that, Ellen. Good comeback. Like, why are you even asking? Come on, why do you care? You know he cares. Why do you even need to know why he cares? You know he
Hmm?
does. That's the point. You're not going to change his mind about it.
Set smiled. I put the scar back to work in the way the Lord Ruler did. No pay, no emancipated peasant class. I can't accept that. Why not? It's what they want. You gave them a choice, and they chose to throw you out. Well, now hold on a second, Set. First off, there were shenanigans afoot with that. Ask the people again, not the assembly, the people. Pretty sure most of them will still say Elland, but their choice, the choice in voting him out, was not a vote for Set.
Mm-hmm. True.
Why not? It's what they want. You gave them a choice, and they chose to throw you out. Now they're going to choose to put me on the throne. They know that the Lord Ruler's way was the best. One group must rule, and another must serve. Someone has to grow the food and work the forges, boy. Perhaps, but you're wrong about one thing. And what is that? They're not going to vote for you, Ellen said, standing. They're going to choose me. Faced with the choice between freedom and slavery, they will choose freedom. The men of the assembly are the finest of this city, and they will make the best choice for its people. Sounds like a good line.
Yeah, see now he's turned the thing between freedom and safety. So Seth said freedom and safety. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
but what he has said here is when
Freedom and
given the choice,
slavery.
yeah, freedom and slavery. So what you would have to do campaign wise is make sure that that's what you're voting for. If they understand you're voting for slavery, not safety.
Yes.
Okay, you're voting for
Yep.
slavery. Just
A
remember
vote
that.
for Set is a vote for slavery. Vote Elland.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, oh, you're gonna survive. You'll have a great life as a slave. Remember that. So yeah, it's I like that. I like the way that that is juxtaposed against how Set framed it. I really love that. Like at the top of the page, we've got the freedom versus safety, and at the bottom of the page, we've got freedom versus slavery. That
Yeah.
works. It's beautiful. And like you said, so maybe the assemblymen, like all of them, the Scar, all of them are full of crap, honestly. But when the people are the ones that rioted and whatever to get freedom. So the people themselves will not stand for that kind of thing. Will
Yeah.
will Elend have to see his assembly teared down for the freedom of the people?
Oh no.
Interesting. Yeah.
I built this government and I can tear it down. Set paused, then laughed. The best thing about you, lad, is that you can say that and sound serious. I'm leaving, Set. Oh, sit down, Venture. Don't act indignant because I'm being honest with you. We still have things to discuss. Such as? Atium. Ellen stood for a moment, apparently forcing down his annoyance. When Set didn't speak immediately, Ellen finally sat and began to eat. Vin picked quietly at her food. As she did, she studied the faces of Set's soldiers and servants. There were bound to be Allomancers mixed among them, finding out how many could give Ellen an advantage. Okay, so we're about to enter into a long conversation about the Atium, right? Which had me rethinking some presumptions I have had in the past.
Okay.
I have stated, and to a point I still suspect this to be the case, that the Lord Ruler was using the Atium,
Agreed.
meaning I don't think it exists anymore, for the most part.
Mhm.
I think he was using it. I think he was using it with Duralumin, and I think he was using it to essentially stop time itself to a point, to like slow the deepness,
Mhm.
is more or less my theory. I also think he was spending it, like, your thought that the Kolos are controlled with Atium is a big thing that I'm wondering about. But this book has been so focused on that missing Atium I'm beginning to wonder if my presumptions are wrong. I'm beginning to wonder if it is somewhere and they are going to find it. How anticlimactic do you think it would be to learn that the atium was used? What do you think?
I don't think it would be anticlimactic to hear that it was used. The fact is, that would be a huge revelation to them because they
That's what I've
didn't.
been thinking.
It's a huge revelation because remember, one of the main things that sits in Vin's mind is that last line that he said, "You don't know what I do for you." Like she has been pondering that. What has he been doing? What has he been doing? They they thought the deepness, or he wanted them to believe that the deepness was gone. But so learning the atium was spent on keeping the deepness at bay is a huge revelation. It's not anticlimactic at all. It means that the deepness is not gone. So this atium use and deepness stuff is very closely related.
Right.
And then I do feel because that is how you pay a Kandra, and we had that line from Dorkus where it's like when he made a sort of comparison between Kandra and Kolos, and he's like, and then he didn't say anything. So I think it could be both things. That Atium was for the Lord Ruler, to keep the deepness at bay, and it was to pay the Kolos. I think that they can be both at the same time.
Okay. So, at the same time, if the Lord Ruler is using the atium to hold off the deepness, it almost seems dangerous not to have a stockpile of it. Like, unless there was genuinely such precious little atium that he has to use every bit that he can find. I mean, that would explain why the sun used to be yellow and it has slowly gone red, and it would explain why he gets so perturbed whenever House Venture was late on a shipment, as mentioned in the first book.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be that ultimately the Lord Ruler was fighting a losing battle.
Yeah, we don't know how dire it was. Maybe he was on the edge of losing it anyway. And Calcia breaking down the mines was a big deal.
Yeah. So there's a lot to think about. It feels like we're definitely building to a revelation. I could believe them thinking that they will find the stockpile at some point.
I feel like I think you're right. The point that you've made from this is that it seems like the Lord Ruler should have a stockpile. So even he could become uncomfortable with the late delivery because that means that he has to start eating into his stockpile. But I feel like yeah, the stockpile does not have to be
I I
depleted
I
yet. I
don't
feel like exists. Yeah.
but I'm referring more to a literary thing, sort of like a Chekhov's gun type of thing. It's like you
Uh,
keep talking about the stockpile. Obviously, there's going to be a revelation involved with the stockpile. It's
mhm.
just, how is that going to manifest? It's going somewhere.
Yeah.
And
It has to end somewhere. It has to. There needs to be a conclusion.
yeah.
Yeah, we have to find out. Mm,
Yeah, just the more they keep talking about it, the more I almost expect them to actually find it. The
mm,
problem with that, though, is that it runs counter to my presuppositions that he spent it or
mhm.
burnt it. So I'm like, those are conflicting ideas in me right now.
Yeah, because 'cause we're trying to figure out what the revelation is before the revelation occurs, that's all.
Yeah. Your people are starving. And if my spies are worth their coin, you just got another influx of mouths. You can't last much longer under this siege. And, well, I mean, first off, he doesn't have to. The Kolos are a day away. Are we not gonna. Is that not gonna, like, explode immediately? I was
Yeah,
expecting it to.
yeah, we don't have time. We're gonna lose a lot of mouths, don't worry.
And I have food. A lot of it. More than my army needs. Canned goods packed with the new method the Lord Ruler developed. Long lasting, no spoilage. Really a marvel of technology. I'd be willing to trade you some of them. Elend paused, fork halfway to his lips. Then he lowered it and laughed. You still think I have the Lord Ruler's atium? Of course you have it. Where else would it be? Elend shook his head, taking a bite of gravy-drenched potato. Not here for certain. But the rumors. Breeze spread those rumors. I thought you'd figured out why he joined your group. He wanted you to come to Luthadel so that you'd stop Straff from taking the city. But Breeze did everything he could to keep me from coming here. He downplayed the rumors. He tried to distract me. Set trailed off, then he bellowed a laugh. I thought he was only there to spy. It seems we both underestimated each other. So I think he laughs there. I wonder if he laughs when he gets angry. Like, that's a tell.
Yeah, his laughter is definitely over the top a lot. He leans on it a lot. So
Yeah.
I don't think it has to be every time he laughs, but he does use it in some manner. It's like in his baseline to use laughter to, I don't know, it's like a blustering. He's making so much noise as well when he laughs. So it seems like it's a good outlet. We would, like, other people have nervous laughter. He could have angry laughter and irritated laughter. Yeah. And it seems we both underestimated each other. Are you talking about
him and Breeze or him and Elend?
Yeah, because I think Breeze did not underestimate him. I think Breeze completely knew what he was doing. Clearly. I think Breeze won that exchange, love.
Yeah, Breeze seems to have won the exchange, and it doesn't make sense for Elend. Because I don't see how Elend underestimated Set.
Copium. He's trying to cope. He's like, oh no, Breeze underestimated me. Haha. I don't see
exactly. How I can't have come out on the losing side of that. Clearly, we both got jabs in. That has to be it.
Yeah, a draw is the only other way that this happens.
My people could still use that food. And they'll have it, assuming I become king. They're starving now. And their suffering will be your burden, Set said, his face growing hard. I can see that you have judged me, Elend Venture. You think me a good man. You're wrong. Honesty does not make a man less of a tyrant. I slaughtered thousands to secure my rule. I put burdens on the scar that make even the Lord Ruler's hand seem pleasant. I made certain that I stayed in power. I will do the same here.
I believe him. Do you?
I believe him too. I like the line, honesty does not make a man less of a tyrant. I think that's a cool line.
It actually makes him more scary, because he's just honest about... Well, not more scary, but it makes him scary, because you know exactly what he... Yeah, like he's honest about all the killing that he's done.
Yeah.
Ugh. Look, I don't prefer lies, but yeah, he's definitely not a good man. And I appreciate that he's a man that knows he's not a good man. And I don't know, he's just a good villain.
Agreed. The men fell silent. Elend ate, but Vin only mixed her food around. If she had missed a poison, she wanted one of them to remain alert. She still wanted to find those Allomancers, and there was only one way to be certain. She turned off her copper, then burned bronze. There was no copper cloud burning. Set apparently didn't care if someone recognized his men as Allomancers. 2 of his men were burning pewter, but neither were soldiers. Both were pretending to be members of the serving staff who were bringing meals. There was also a tin eye pulsing in the other room, listening. Why hide thugs as servants, then use no copper to hide their pulses? In addition, well, first off, why do thugs need to be burning pewter while they're serving? Is the real question there.
Yeah.
The tin eye I get, but...
what are you using your pewter for?
Yeah.
I suppose it's like to be on alert.
I guess.
Yeah, so it could be a small pulse that they're using. They're not flaring.
Yeah. Why hide thugs as servants, then use no copper to hide their pulses? In addition, there were no soothers or rioters. Nobody was trying to influence Elend's emotions. Neither Set nor his youthful attendant was burning any metals. Either they weren't Allomancers, or they feared exposing themselves. To be certain, Vin flared her bronze, seeking to pierce any hidden copper clouds that might be nearby. She could see Set putting out some obvious Allomancers as a distraction, then hiding the others inside a cloud. She found nothing. So what do you think about that? Is this just more Set's honesty?
It's more of his Set messing around. His honesty is untrustworthy. So you don't know when he's lying and when he's being honest. The thing about Elend is we know he's always going to be honest. Okay? Most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is with his kind of honesty, his bluntness, the difference is that you don't know when he's being honest and when he's not. So
Yeah.
I'm just confused by this. I don't trust it. I don't trust any of it. So yeah, this is the way it seems, but I don't know what he's doing. I'm like, no. Don't trust, don't feel that ease. Just don't.
She found nothing. Finally satisfied, she returned to picking at her meal.
How many times has this ability of mine, the ability to pierce copper clouds, proven useful?
She'd forgotten what it was like to be blocked from sensing allomantic pulses. This one little ability, simple though it seemed, provided an enormous advantage, and the Lord Ruler and his Inquisitors had probably been able to do it from the beginning. What other tricks was she missing? What other secrets had died with the Lord Ruler? I like that thought.
Yep, exactly. Like we were just talking about what he was doing with the Atium.
Yep. I really hope she has the thought, can I soothe through a copper cloud? Because that's how you're going to beat Zane.
Yeah, if you can pierce a copper cloud, why can't you do other things through a copper cloud?
Yeah.
He knew the truth about the deepness. He must have. He tried to warn us at the end.
Elend and Set were talking again. Why couldn't she focus on the problems of the city?
She's focusing on the problems of the world. That's why.
Yeah. Yep. This also would have been a good opportunity to think about the Zane dilemma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, throw away line, literally just one line or something.
So you don't have any atium at all? None that we're willing to sell. You've searched the city 12 times. The statues. Perhaps the Lord Ruler hid the metal by melting it down, then building things out of it. Elend shook his head. We thought of that. The statues aren't atium, and they aren't hollow either. That would have been a good place to hide metal from Allomancer eyes. We thought maybe that it would be hidden in the palace somewhere, but even the spires are simple iron. Caves, tunnels, none that we can find. We've had Allomancers patrol, searching for large sources of metals. We've done everything we can think of, Set. Short of tearing holes in the ground, trust me, we've been working on this problem for a while.
Ooh. Yeah.
That discussion is what had me really questioning my preconceived notions, and that is what makes me think Sanderson is setting up more of the mystery. There is something to find, and they're going to find it.
Yeah, I'm just thinking tearing holes in the ground. They haven't done that. It's like, well, you know what will tear up holes in the ground? A war, battle. That will do it. That might, like collapsing, making explosions, things. I don't know. That might land up. That might be a little crumb that he's left for us, because you said short of tearing holes in the ground. They haven't done that. And also another thing, when I first read it, tearing holes in the ground means short of making another mine, finding another vein of it, I suppose. Yeah.
Interesting. Set nodded, sighing. I suppose holding you for ransom would be pointless. Elend smiled. I'm not even king, Set. The only thing you'd do is make the assembly less likely to vote for you. Suppose I'll have to let you go then. End chapter.
End chapter. Look, it was a great character chapter.
Yeah, just horribly placed.
Yeah, just like what is going on? Hello, Zane. What? But still good either way. I enjoyed it.
Lots of good lines. We know Set a lot better now, or at least we think we do.
He laughs a lot. We need to figure out what that means.
Yeah. I'm gonna revisit the chapter, I think, with my idea that his laughter is an anger tell, and see if I can glean anything from that.
Yeah, and that's it. Enjoyable. Okay, can we get back to Can we just know all the mysteries now? Can we have the revelations? I'm done. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I want better epigraphs moving forward, please, Mr. Sanderson.
Yeah.
I want a crumb of a revelation. I will say meta knowledge here. We're like 2 chapters away from the end of this part, and we always know that the last part is always really exciting. So there's that to look forward to. And that will be a blind. So look forward to that one, folks.
Look out for it. Yeah.
Anything else to say on the chapter, Kitte?
Nope.
Well, thank you all for tuning in. If you have a chance, subscribe to that darn Kitte, because she's got a great channel. Check out the Discord. It's a growing place. Link in the description. And we'll see you next time. Okay, thanks, bye.
Bye.
Wow, you said see ya instead of okay, thanks, bye.
Okay, sorry, I'll do it again.
Wow.
Okay, thanks, bye. Why did I say see ya? Oh, I don't know. I think I say that at the end of some stuff. The sun's in my eyes, okay?
Mm-hmm.